Hi. So we all know that Maruti is the highest selling car in India and by far the highest selling car in India. So why am I making this video? Well, it's to disprove two myths which are tied to an average Indian's mind or brain, which don't really have a logical explanation, apart from the fact that it all comes down to money. Number one, the first thing, Marutis are cheap to run, buy, and repair, right? Well, I'll give you a scenario where we'll put two cars. One is a Maruti, and one is, let's say, car X, right? This is not X. This is X. Anyway, not the Tesla Model X, because why not? But now, if I gave you an option of buying a car which was made of cheap quality parts and materials, and it ran pretty efficiently or frugally because it was lightweight and the engine was good. Let's say the engine's really good, right? Let's say the engine is very good in both of these cars. But in the first scenario, let's consider a car which is made of cheap parts and cheap quality material and runs very frugal, but also breaks down more often. And the breaking down of the car does not pay a huge impact to your mind because it's cheap to repair. And that's what Maruti stands for, right? Cheap to repair. You get repairs everywhere in the world. Why not? The world being India. So, which car would you prefer? A cheaper car, which breaks down more readily and easily, which feels cheap to drive, has almost no safety. We'll get to the safety part in a bit, and which is easier to repair, right? So the money aspect always just takes over your whole buying decision. Or a car which is made up of higher quality materials, it justifies its price, does not break down as often, and when it does break down, it does require a premium of parts because the parts are expensive because they don't break down as often. So if you did choose a Maruti, then you're not wrong because 90% of the Indians are buying Marutis and they're just like selling 3-4 times more cars than any of their competitors. I might be wrong in the scale, but if you are buying a Maruti, you're not wrong because you're thinking of the car being more frugal and easy to repair and finding repairs anywhere in the world. Again, India. And so cool, good buying decision, right? But what happens in the long run? Now, you would say that the car is better in the long run because the parts are easier to get, the parts are readily available, and all you think of is repairing the car and maintaining it, right? And that's what the entire company Maruti runs on, is easy to repair, easy to maintain. And what you have to understand there is, when you're paying a little less of a premium for a Maruti, which nowadays isn't the case, you're actually paying them in the long run. They're going to charge you money here and there for your services, for your repair bills, for the cost of the parts, because the parts do fail in a cheaply made car, and the whole company just runs on the fact that you will be buying a lot of parts in small amounts because they don't break all at the same time, and you'll be paying them enough money over the long period of time. Instead, what you could do is actually buy a high quality car which is expensive to run, expensive to own, because the car is expensive, does not give enough of a fuel economy. Fuel efficiency is what you like, kitna deti hai. And what you would experience in the long run is the fact that the car is very reliable. You can depend on it on about wherever you go. You can take it with you wherever in the world you want to go, and I'm not saying only in India, right? You can take it wherever you want to go, and you just know that it's not going to fail on you. So now, after clarifying all of this down, which one would you choose? A Maruti, which needs a lot of service and repair and taking care of, and fine, the parts are easy to find, or something else which is not very cheap to begin with, but it's going to justify its price in the long run. And this brings me to point 1.5, right? Let's not get to point number 2 right now. The point 1.5 here, what I realized from meeting a lot of owners who own Marutis and surveying a lot of people who actually own Marutis, is the fact that 99 or probably 100% of them are not really happy with their purchase. They bought the car because everyone else was buying it, and the herd mentality is very real because Maruti is selling a shit ton of cars. And none of these, and I mean none of these people, would actually buy another Maruti or the same car, because if you love a car so much, you would probably buy the same car again if this thing goes to shit, right? And none of them are ready to buy a Maruti again. And when you factor in the point about safety, then everyone's just got their hands off the desk and they're like, let's not do Maruti because it will genuinely kill you. right? In a car where an airbag is optional, that's where you have to think, let's not do this, because the company clearly does not care about safety and puts economy and money first. So another point I would want to make here is the fact that Marutis are probably the most frugal and cheap to run cars in the world, right? Because they've got insane fuel economy, and that's the byproduct of the car being cheaply built. I'll explain to you how. And the fact that they've just been in the environment for a long time, and I'll give them props to that. Now, the fact or the factor where the safety comes, or where the car is not very well built, is automatically going to make it lightweight, because cheap parts, plastics everywhere, safety instruments not given that big of a hierarchy in the car's life. So the car's going to be lightweight, and if you know anything about automobiles, lightness adds efficiency, because you make a race car lighter, it'll go faster, it'll go further. By further, I mean further in the range, which is kitna deti hai. And so do all Marutis. So when you do compare a Maruti for, let's say, a Baleno, and you compare a Tata Altros, they're not sponsoring this video. Tata, come on, dude. And now you put both of these cars side by side on paper, the Tata should perform as well as a Maruti, right? It should go as fast as a Maruti, because on paper the engine specs look the same. But what you will find a huge discrepancy in is the weights of the car. And by all means and all ways of measurement, a Tata car of the same caliber as a Maruti car is almost always 200 to 250 kilos heavier than the Maruti car, and that should tell you a lot about the quality of products used in that car, or quality of material used in that car. If the cars look the same, I'm not saying in design, but I'm talking about in size and proportions, they technically should weigh the same, right? But the Maruti always weighs 200 to 50 kilograms lighter, and that's the result of using cheap quality parts and products in that car and material in that car. So that's why none of the Marutis score really well in safety, apart from like a few, like a couple, as far as I can remember. And all of Tata's cars, or all of Volkswagen's cars, or all of the late Ford's cars are really doing really well in the safety department, while also doing pretty well in all other aspects of a car, right? Of build quality, of how it makes you feel inside, of completely eliminating the feeling of being cheap or plasticky or made out of tin. So that's what you get when you choose a car for efficiency and being frugal, instead of a car which is supposed to do everything right. And being fast on a straight line from 0 to 100 kmph is not everyone's requirement, and I'm pretty sure 99% of the people who own the car ever do the car's 0 to 100 kmph claim time, because it's just not required in the current world. So now what it comes down to are build quality, overall living with the car, and the car's reliability, and if it's actually going to keep you safe when you eventually do meet with a crash, right? Nobody can completely bypass the fact that, oh, I'm never going to crash, so I'm better off buying a Maruti. If that's you, then just don't watch this video, dude, because we're talking about scientific things here in a very simple way, and if you don't understand the simple way, then there's no point of you even trying to understand what scientifically it means. So buy the right car which you're going to be happy living with in the long run, which is not going to break down on you randomly. It's not about getting the cars fixed, it's the car actually living on the promise that it's going to get you somewhere. So this was my video about why you actually shouldn't buy a Maruti. We didn't get to any of the numbers. I only mentioned the Baleno because that's one of the most popular cars in India, and why you actually shouldn't buy that car. And if you are thinking of buying a Maruti, go talk to any person in your building, and I'm pretty sure there are like 2 million people in your building who own a Maruti. Ask them if they would suggest you buying a Maruti. Some of them would if they hate you, but if they would actually suggest a family member buying a Maruti, if they love the family member, or if they would actually buy a Maruti again, and I'm going to guarantee you 9 out of 10 times nobody is going to choose buying a Maruti again.